restaurant, you see families are only sitting with their phones instead of interacting. So we need education which is not only for giving them conceptual knowledge, but the mind, the heart and the spirit. How do we prepare our children for the world? Such a very short video. If we can just listen to Jack Ma, this is just last month at the World Forum.
Because the way we teach, the thing we teach our kids are the things passion based, knowledge based. And we cannot teach our kids to compete with machine that is smart. Value, believing, independent thinking, teamwork are the soft part. The knowledge will not teach you that. But that's why I think we should teach our kids sports, entertainment, music, painting, art. So making sure humans is different from the thing.
So the focus needs to be on the habits of mind. In the UK, they have a minister for loneliness. Imagine if you have to have that. It is because they need people who have no one to talk to. They need to talk to people. So this is officially in the cabinet. They have a minister for loneliness. We have schools which are teaching habit activities, whether it is an activity or a bully. The focus being on concepts, the basic fundamental using artificial intelligence, but not these values and skills. Personalized learning. I think that is going to be the next thing, that we have to create curriculum for every child. Differentiated instruction was where you have the curriculum and you just change the strategies. Let them decide what they want to learn, how they want to demonstrate learning instead of just pushing them through the mark system that we have. Different strategies at their own pace and where they want to learn, whether they want to learn from school or whether they want to learn from home. That is where technology can be used. Also, they co-plan their learning, wherever the parents are involved, the child is involved as to what they want to learn, and they just need to. Technology. If we use it, be beneficial. Will technology replace a teacher in class? Never. Artificial intelligence will not do that. Teachers create an environment for collaboration and support. Artificial intelligence will not do that in a classroom. Imagine walking into a class and listening to water cycle in one dull, monotone tone, whereas the teacher will be asking questions.
Good morning, friends. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I was listening to Divya Punjabi ji and really wishing that instead of making the speech, I should have been sitting here all day and listening to the very invaluable inputs. Because all of us do realize that education is the key. Education is the catalyst. Education is that weapon in our hand with which we can prepare citizens for the future who will be global citizens and bring fame, name and glory to our country. Early learning observed certain things that happened in my life. I grew up in a commune because my father was a member of the Communist Party, and he used to work and all the money would go to the Communist Party. Only 40 rupees a month was given to him from the money that he earned, in which he had to look after first my mother, then me, and then my brother. And so my mother had to go out and work as well. Because without both the parents working, they would not have been able to look after their children. because there was no money at home, was sent to a municipal school, a municipal Urdu school. And every day, my mother tells me, every day I would drag my feet and I would cry and I would weep and I would say, I don't want to go to school. And then when I got my results, I got a 0 in every single subject. 0, 0, 0. And you know what my mother did? My mother said, this child is not daft, she's protesting. She is protesting and we will have to take cognizance of this fact. And so they pulled me out of that school. And when they could not afford it, because remember, my father was getting only 40 rupees a month, they pulled me out and put me in a school which was because my mother recognized that this was something that a child needed. Tell me, how many of us are skilled to do that? We would beat up our children, we would say our children are daft, we would have all kinds of problems with our children. But for parents to recognize, I think, will be the first step. 2, I grew up in a family which believed art should be used as an instrument for social change, where gender equality was a given. My mother had to start working, and so there were times she was working with Prithvi Theatre, and there were times when she also had to go to on tour. And so she would be away from the house for a month or 2. It was my father who would dress us up, get us ready to school, and take us to school. What did that do for us? What it did for us is, without anybody tom-tomming about it, it made us take gender justice and equality between the sexes as a given. We took it for granted that men and women were equal and that they should get the same opportunities. There was nothing that I was ever told in my life, ye to sirf ladke kar sakte hain. So I was 19 years old before I even realized that something that I take for granted is actually the exception rather than the rule, that the world doesn't function like this. And that came as a surprise to me. So when I was listening to Jack Ma, I don't think we need to say anything more than that, because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about our increasing dependence on machines, on technology, things that can take us forward. Like Divyaji said, yes, teachers and technology can exist. What are the lessons that we need to learn? The lessons are, we need values in our life. We need to be able to interact. We need to be innovative. It was music to my ears just as I was coming in to hear Divya say that parents have to recognize today, teachers have to recognize today that not everybody wants to do a 9-to-6 job. They want to be freelancers. They want to do things that you've not explored. It was unthinkable that you can also pursue music and you can also pursue engineering. I remember when I first used to go to America, I used to find it so strange that here is a doctor and along with that she's also doing geology and gemology, and I said, why are you doing that? But that is the need of the hour. This can only happen in the formative years. If, to me, single-mindedly, the most important, there are very, very, very many important things in our society, but the first thing that we have to tackle is patriarchy. We have to remove patriarchy from the system. Patriarchy is a belief that entitles a boy child over a girl child for sheer dint of being a boy. I work in a school in Mijwan, a small little village in Azamgarh, where it is completely taken for granted, where it was a time where girls were not even allowed to go to school because it was the boy who was valued over the girls. Because of the interventions that we've made over the years, the power equations have slightly tilted, and in fact girls are getting the benefit of it. And we have seen, when we look at results, when we look at school results, when we look at CBSE results, we see that in many, many situations that the girls who are topping the boys. Why? Because they have been given an opportunity. So we need an education an education that doesn't tell us that we need to learn things by rote. I remember as a child just learning things by rote, and now I feel the need that I should join nature study ka second class. Second standard I should join because I don't remember anything that I learned by rote. But things that I applied, things that were made available to me, what was it that I really learned from school? I learned moral values. I learned compassion. I learned that one is not an island, that you have to interact with human beings. That requires a mindset, which is a complete change. It depends entirely on the teacher. Because I work in this tiny little village in Mijwa in Azamgarh, and we had constant problems with not finding enough teachers who could teach them English. We started Skype lessons from America, and there were many, very many volunteers who would get up at all odd hours. But then I realized for these girls, even the fact that the teacher is there on the screen, what they actually need is a physical presence. One person there who can guide them, who can inspire them, who can consider them as individuals rather than as a group. This is easier said than done. The requirements today are requirements from parents to recognize, and more so from the teacher. What we are asking the teacher to do is not the most easy thing to do. To say that you have to pay individual attention to every child and not put the child through a test one size fits all requires reskilling, requires learning, relearning, but above all, it requires commitment. If the teacher is committed, if the parent is committed, then there is nothing that can make the child not rise to the level of her own potential. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. We are going to start with the lighting of the lamp because I think that was skipped. So I would now request all the dignitaries to please join us for the lighting of the lamp, after which we have an opening session by a young child author who's going to read from her book. So, Neha, can you stay ready, please? Because after the lighting of the lamp, it's going to be you.
So, can we have the National Committee members? Mr. Prajot Rajan, Dr. Kamini Devi, Ms. Asha Verma. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. The lamp doesn't walk as some sort of Hungama, meaning the lamp leads us from darkness towards light. The presence of our group ensures success for our Early Childhood Association. Flame symbolizing wisdom and knowledge for all of us at Early Childhood Association. The flame of lamp always burns upwards. We at the Early Childhood Association yearn to acquire such knowledge as to take towards the higher ideals. The brilliance of light does not diminish despite its repeated use of the light to light many more lamps. So the true knowledge does not lessen when shared with or imparted to others. To make this morning a blessed one, invoke Goddess Saraswati by filling the lamp of knowledge and wisdom. Hope is patience with the lamp lit.
Important session, a very interesting session of the morning. Standing here with me, first let me tell you why. Early Childhood Association strongly believes in quality in education, and when our children get these quality circles, their unique innate talents are identified and nurtured. Presenting Miss Neha Gupta, the youngest author, who is the first youth ambassador of Nobel laureate Kailash, with us for a book reading session. By reading book by NGO Arpan.
Is there anyone from Arpan here? Arpan.
That is my tasty book by Arpan. The School News magazine, which is in your registration bag. May we have Mr. Ravi Sandanani, please? Yes, audience, we'd like to see your pom-poms, your lights, your claps. Next, we have the Early Childhood Association booklet, Teacher Training Module for Early Childhood Care and Education. That's one book we are sure you're going to look at. Always recognize and felicitate. Firstly, we'd like to begin by felicitating a young and dynamic author, Miss Neha Gupta. Please come, Neha. I'm going to announce the next award. Come, Neha. Education. I'm proud to announce this goes to Can Kids Miss Sabita Vijayan. May I request the award winners to please come here close to me so we can move a little faster. Thank you. Can Kids Miss Sabita Vijayan. Child Rights Foundation Mr. Jate. Life Trust Miss Poonam Lavani. Congratulations. While this is on, I would like the most committed journalist in early childhood education.
Yeah, ma'am, I am.
The next award is for the most committed journalist in early childhood education, Ms. Vidya Patil from Sakal Chakri. The next award is for the most committed child development officer of ECCE program, Preeti Ben from Bhavnagar. Please join us here. And the most committed ICS Supervisor of the Mothers Reports to Project Head for Anandwadis, Telangana.
Need to concentrate on who's here, don't go ahead.
It's Miss Jinook. It's Miss Jinook.
Jinook. See, it's Jinook.
Yes.
Miss Jinook Mazumdar, Telegraph, Kolkata.
Miss Preeti Ben.
That is Preeti Ben from Bhavnagar, the most committed Child Development Project Officer. I'd like to announce Ms. Lakshmi Bai, the most committed ICDA services. She is not here with us today, but we definitely recognize who is not here with us today, but we will definitely be sending the award to her. A huge round of applause for Ms. Marla, please. And This is also shared by Miss Leena. Welcome, ma'am. We are honored to have you with us.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Ma'am, Zareen is
Thank you, ma'am.
We are also giving this award to Ms. Leena Asher, founder of Kangaroo Kids, who is not here with us today, but the award.
Leena has a personal emergency, but Leena is the one who can be credited for starting the preschool for the first time in this country, where private preschools concept was started by her. So ACA, and she's also a founder, vice president. So I want all of us to please honor her. Sadly, because of her personal emergency, she's not here. So Divya is taking it on her behalf. Divya, come please. This is from ACA.
Ma'am.
She's not here. Better Place. Who start from Better Place? Yes. This is for exemplary contribution to safety in early years.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am. Ma'am.
Being launched at these hands, and there are a lot more to go.
She wants to see your lights. She wants to see your pom-poms. Show your lights and your pom-poms.
Shabana ma'am.
Why don't you come? They're not interested in this. They are interested in other things. That's what they're interested in.
only related to this, huh?
See from his face, I can make it. I know them.
Yes.
Ma'am, what do you think about this event?
Early childhood.
Yeah, early
No,
childhood.
one second. What frame your question about this event? What is this event? You came here, no?
Early childhood teachers who've been working
You
towards
came
early
here.
childhood. You've been made the brand ambassador of the.
I have not been.
You're not accepted.
No, she's not accepted it. No.
I'm sorry, I don't want to talk to you. Anybody else has a better question to ask me? मुझे बहुत अफसोस है कि मुझे जितना वक्त यहाँ देना चाहिए था उतना वक्त मैं नहीं दे पाई हूँ, क्योंकि मैं समझती हूँ कि ये कॉन्फ्रेंस जो है वो उसका महत्व बहुत ज़्यादा है। हम लोगों को इस विषय पे जितनी जानकारी होनी चाहिए उतनी जानकारी नहीं है। और सही बात तो ये है कि जब तक हम अपने बच्चों के अर्ली चाइल्डहुड पे पूरी तरह से कंसंट्रेट नहीं करेंगे और उसको वो तवज्जो नहीं देंगे जो वो डिज़र्व करता है, क्योंकि साइकियाट्रिस्ट ये कहते हैं कि 7 साल की उम्र तक जो बच्चा बन जाता है वो ही उसकी आइडेंटिटी हो जाती है। So we need to invest in early childhood. There are notions about what early. I was very, touched when you said the schoolification of kindergarten. It's something that I'd not even thought of before that. And so the demands of today is education has to be revisited. It has to be revisited in early childhood. Teachers have to be prepared for what globalization and technology has done. And so I congratulate them for holding this and for educating me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Photo please here. Ma'am, look here.
Yeah, ma'am, both of you here.
Patika, these are Ahmedabad territory head. One of the few males which we have who are working.
Ma'am, yeah.
Rekha?
Okay, thank you.
If somebody else is to come,
मांगे पीछे 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 अरे पीछे आ
आज पीछे जा रहा हूँ भाई और क्या करूँ
पीछे पीछे आ रहे और पीछे
Sir, please,
आप थोड़ा वेट वेट हो जाओ वेट वेट मैम 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 या मैम मैम इतना सोली है आवाज हो गया